Welcome back to another video, guys. Today we're going to be talking about Rafael Stone and the Houston Rockets because we've been seeing what they've been doing in the offseason, and quite frankly, it just makes no sense at all, right? We did see the 4-year, $80 million deal that Dylan Brooks got, and people thought it was an overpay, but when you put into context the fact that how much the salary cap's gone up and the fact that $20 million now is role player money, similar to like 12, 13-ish million dollars a few seasons back, that doesn't seem like a terrific overpay. Like, that's not terrible. They added Jeff Green from the Nuggets. They added Patty Mills. They got Amen Thompson in the draft at the 4th, and they added Cam Whitmore at the 20th overall. So they've made some additions, and then on top of that, add in Fred VanVleet. So they've gotten better on paper, but they lost DJ Augustine, Frank Kaminsky, Boban, and then Knicks. So looking from what they lost and what they gained, they've definitely become a better team. But it's like, at what cost and what direction are we going? Because they also allowed Jay Gupp to walk, and that was Jalen Green's running mate all the way back to their high school days, honestly. So we're looking at a team that is adding pieces, yes, but they're also just throwing money to really anybody at this point. Now, the thing with Fred VanVleet that's interesting is the fact that he signed a 3-year, almost $130 million contract, which to most people, myself included, is absolutely insane. Now, if you're getting the Fred VanVleet from 2 seasons ago, then you could make an argument that that makes sense that they did pay him to such an egregious degree. But if we're looking at the Fred VanVleet we saw this past season, obviously he was a bit hampered, but he just didn't look like himself. So going off the recency bias, it makes no sense that they would pay him that sort of money, especially when you have Jalen Green and Kevin Porter on the roster. Now, this is Jalen Green's team, and Jalen Green loves to score the rock. Fred VanVleet is also a very on-ball player that loves to score the rock. When he's at his best, he is extremely efficient, and he is a definite positive to have on the floor. He felt like with the Raptors, it wasn't a great fit because they were significantly younger. He just felt like a roster that young and that much developing wasn't a great time lineup for himself and the schedule that he was running on. And if somebody's going to throw you 3 years, 130 M's, if I'm Fred VanVleet, I have to take that deal. And I'm pretty sure the entire contract is covered as far as guaranteed money goes. So even more so. You add in a little bit of veteran depth with Jeff Green. We don't really know how many more years you're going to have of positive Jeff Green minutes, but he's a good depth piece. You add Patty Mills from Brooklyn, and that's good. That was a solid trade that they made on the 6th. Amen Thompson is definitely going to be a day one must-play piece for them. Cam Whitmore is also going to be a good piece for them. So I don't hate the fit of the team, but it just kind of questions what's going on as far as the guard play goes, because now you went from a definite Jalen Green's team to a overpay on Fred VanVleet, whose timeline also doesn't match up with the Houston Rockets. He said that the timeline for the Raptors didn't match up, but with the Rockets, they're an even younger team. Now, the Rockets do have more pieces that they can focus on to be, I guess, more prepared this coming season, and maybe they're hoping that he's going to push Jalen and them to the next level as a veteran presence and also as an effective and hardworking member of the roster. But $130 million is a bit excessive. Now, obviously this offseason they added on a couple restrictions in the new CBA deal to make teams a little tighter on their budgets. So there was money to spend, and there was money that they had to spend because they had to reach a certain threshold in order to maintain their entire cap, because if they were under the threshold, I want to say it was 90% of it, then they effectively forfeited for the season. And you kind of need that money, especially come perhaps buyout market time. If you think this roster can make a playoff push, maybe to be a play-in team, then I think it is worth making the deal, because ever since James Harden left, they just haven't been the same team. They've had some sort of direction, but it's really been a your turn, my turn, his turn, their turn kind of offense. There's never really much of a flow. When you think flow, you think Warriors, you think Spurs, you think teams like that. But when you think of the Houston Rockets, you think Jalen Green take 30 dribbles, Jay Gupp take 30 dribbles, everybody take 20 dribbles and create your shot. If you miss, whoever grabs the rebound, you're taking the shot. And it's like, When it goes in, that's great. But we saw from the way that the record showed, it didn't win games. It wasn't conclusive to winning games. So to add Fred VanVleet, maybe you're looking for a bit of a culture change and getting more ball movement, getting more of a more cerebral mind on the court and controlling the game in that aspect. And if that's the way they're going, then I could see it making sense to go out and grab him specifically, especially in the market that there was. But outside of that, I really don't see what the goal was of that move. Now, obviously, I don't hate the move by any stretch of the imagination, because on paper, they got better as a team this offseason. But it's about fit a lot of times. You can't just slap a bunch of good players together and expect them to play well, because we've seen it happen with all NBA caliber players in the past few seasons, and it hasn't worked. That being said, though, Fred VanVleet isn't known as being an outwardly bossy kind of player, a very demanding and controlling type of player. So he might fit cohesively with this young core, and he might be able to push them to that next level. And if that's the case, then by all accounts, the GM's doing his job pretty well. Now, they did get better. It cost them a lot, but they got better. And it will be interesting to see what the next step is for them as a roster as a whole, and really just seeing how things play out in the rest. You have certain teams like the Clippers that are taking strides. You saw the Lakers really hit home runs from a adding depth standpoint in the offseason. There's just a lot of interesting things going on and at play here. But with that being said, like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, good morning, good evening, and good night, no matter where you are on the planet watching. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.